It should come as no surprise to my friends and viewers that trading card games have always had a very special place in my heart. In this series, both Raikourider and myself will be opening 24 packs or one box of a core Yu-Gi-Oh set. Every week we will add an additional core set to our collections, moving in chronological order. We will use these cards to create a deck and then face off against one another in a best 2 out of 3 match, with the winner receiving 2 prizes to upgrade their deck, while the loser receives 1. These prizes can range from wildcards, to sealed product, to starter decks, and more. Every card that has been released will be available to us at least once. However, we cannot rest on our laurels. Between the ever-evolving nature of the Forbidden and Limited list, the cards that we ourselves choose to banish into the Shadow Realm, and even the way the very rules of the game will change, will keep our decks and our duels fresh. This is yet another Yu-Gi-Oh! Progression series. Okay, so unfortunately trying to play Exodia was a little bit too early, but that's not too bad because 1, Rai knows that it's there, and 2, him knowing that it's there means that he's going to have to try to keep that in mind for the future. And on top of that, he didn't choose to ban Exodia, so we're going to be okay with that because this gives us more opportunities to actually get this to work on him. Anyway, we're going to go on to the next set. This is Cyberdark Impact. This came out in November of 2006, and honestly, it is often regarded by players as one of, if not the worst set in existence. Now granted, there is definitely going to be some recency bias here, but I personally don't think this is the worst set ever. And in fact, even in terms of GX sets, I don't think this is the worst. Because Power of the Duelist is a thing, and I still stand by that being a much worse set. But we'll go through a few of the key cards here and explain my reasoning. Now the thing was, at the time of its release, this set was definitely one of the weakest. It had very few cards that worked out in the immediate, but there were plenty of cards that came up after the fact that wound up getting a lot of play. So scrolling through the comments here, starting off we have Cyber Ogre, which is kind of a decent card, but it takes a bit of setup. If you are battling with a Cyber Ogre, you could discard another one in your hand, you get to negate that battle, and then your Cyber Ogre gains 2,000 attack points until the next fight it gets involved in. It's okay, but for a 1 tribute, it definitely is a lot more setup than it should be. And then scrolling through a bit more, Snipe Hunter is probably the poster child of this set. It is a decent fiend monster with 1500 attack, so it's searchable off of Sangan and Witch. You could discard a card and then target a card on the field, roll a 6-sided die, and if you roll anything but a 1 or a 6, you destroy that card. Now, the nice thing about that is, it's not once per turn, and you have a 2/3 chance of actually popping a card. The problem with this card is, the fact that you have to keep discarding makes it tougher to actually utilize the effect constantly. And on top of that, if you have bad luck with your rolls, and let's be honest, that's probably going to happen to us, then it can turn into discard for a blank. That being said, this is probably one of the few cards that people remember this set for. Scrolling down a little more, we actually have the barrier statues, which all have the effects that neither player can special summon monsters except the monster of their given attribute. So like this one, is Barrier Statue of the Heavens, it only lets you special summon light monsters. Again, at the time, these weren't very good. However, nowadays, there are a couple of these that see some play in side decks, for rogue decks, things like that. And they're actually not the worst in that regard. Scrolling down a little more, they have a couple more alien cards here, but nothing too spectacular there. And then we get into some of the more notable cards here. First off, we have Instant Fusion, which to this day is still seeing a fair amount of play. and is actually still limited in the game. You pay 1,000 life points, and you can special summon a level 5 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck. The card can't attack, and it is destroyed during the end phase, but it does count as a fusion summon. So the nice thing about this card is that you can actually play this to get out a level 5 or lower fusion, and then you have it for tribute material, you have it for tribute, you have it for synchro plays, you have it for Xyz plays, you have it for link plays, whatever you want. In the current context of the game, for us, it pretty much has very little purpose aside from just getting a tribute monster available, which for us is not very important, but this is something to keep in mind for later. And if we could pick up a couple of these, 2 or 3 of these, we'll be happy. And then we have the utter bane of this set's existence, Chain Strike. For those of you who have played during this time, Chain Burn is going to probably cause a couple of you to have a fit. Chain Strike has the effect that you can only activate it as a chain link 2 or higher, and you deal 400 damage to your opponent times the number of this chain link. You can't activate it if multiple cards or effects with the same name are in that chain, but it's not that big a deal. The nice thing about... So, basically, what this card implies is you could set 5 cards, and then if your opponent tries to hit you with a heavy storm or something, you activate your cards in response and then end with Chain Strike to deal massive damage. Or even just in general, if you want to keep this in the most basic terms, you could activate this on almost anything as a Chain Link 2 and deal 800 damage, which isn't all that great, but it's still decent burn damage overall. It has the potential to get really big, and for a good little bit, you actually have, I believe we have 3 copies of this available to us until the next, I think the end of the next set. So imagine getting 2,000 damage off on this card and pulling that effect off 3 times. It could be pretty brutal. And then we have a couple other cards that have similar nature. Mystical Wind Typhoon is basically Mystical Space Typhoon, but it has to be Chain Link 3 or higher. And then we have Accumulated Fortune, which is actually a Pot of Greed, but it has to be Chain Link 4 or higher. And while it's a decent card in its own right, the fact that we have access to Pot of Greed kind of makes this card a little less important for us. This card is actually kind of nice. Vanity's Call. It can only activate as a Chain Link 4 or higher, but you can pay half your life points and negate the activation and effects of every other card in the chain and destroy them. Now, the reason I'm saying this is a big deal is because, yes, it is true that paying half your life points for something like this might not be the greatest. However, if we have this on the field and Rai happens to have Chain Burn going, we could wait for him to basically rinse out his entire field, activate this, negate everything, and then we probably end up giving up less life points than we would be taking as damage. Rai loses all of his cards, and he effectively ends up with an empty board. That's kind of a thing for us to pay attention to. If nothing else, this might be a good side deck card. And then we have a couple cards that are actually meant to be weaker versions of some of the known powerful cards. So like right here, we have Straight Flush, which the effect of it is that if your opponent has all of their spell and trap zones occupied, you can destroy all cards in them. So basically, it's a very conditional Harpy's Feather Duster in a trap form. And scrolling up here, we actually hit the rare cards, and we see the other one, Flash of the Forbidden Spell, which if your opponent's monster boards are completely full, you can activate this and destroy all monsters they control. So basically, if your opponent has 5 monsters on the field, then boom, you have a Raigeki in play. Now, will we actually see that happen? Probably not. In fact, now, because we know this is a card, we're probably going to actively avoid that, but you never know. And then we have Vanity's Fiend, which is actually one of the other cards we have to pay attention to. Yeah. 1 tribute monster, so that's annoying, but his effect is that neither player can special summon monsters. So for right now, that's actually not that big a deal. It might be kind of important later because we're running we're going to be running fusions and the like, but overall, right now, not that big a deal. And then scrolling down here a little bit, we have Rampaging Rhinos, which is one of the cards that actually impact the column that we're setting our monsters in. It's an interesting gimmick that they started out with, but realistically, we're probably not going to mess with it too much. Blackhorn Heaven's actually a key rare that we want to see a couple of if we can. For one, it's a counter trap, which is really good for the fairy line, but on top of that, if your opponent would special summon exactly a monster, you can negate it and destroy it. So, if we have this on hand and Rai tries to activate Polymerization, he tries to Contact Fuse, he tries to use Miracle Fusion, we can flip this card and stop it. And then we scroll up into the super rares here, and we have the Cyberdark cards, which we really don't want to see any of these, to be entirely honest. I don't think any of these cards we want to see overall. And then we scroll down into the ultra rares, and again, same thing. Cyber Ogre 2 is probably like the one interesting ultra rare, but realistically, that still requires having 3 Cyber Ogre to work with, and quite frankly, it's just not worth it. And then Cyberdark Dragon is just way too much of it's a high roll card. I mean, the fact that you need 3 super rares in order to summon it is already bad enough, but on top of that, you also have to have a bunch of dragon monsters to make use of the theme, and quite frankly, we're not going to do it. Basically, my thing is, it's way too much investment to pay attention to it. And then the rest of it is basically just meh. Like I said, there's not a whole lot in this set that's actually notable, and that's part of the reason why this set is usually given such a bad rap. But I will just say that over time we have had some improvements on the cards. Now, speaking of improvements, we actually have a new ban list which has improved the meta a little bit, and it's actually made a couple of interesting changes. So this is a set from September 2006, and this is going to be in effect until, I want to say, the end of the set after this one, which I think is Strike of Neos. And let's scroll down real quick to see the big changes. There are actually a couple of major ones. Chaos Sorcerer is immediately forbidden. We only have 1 copy, so this thing effectively turning it into a limited doesn't change anything for us necessarily. Cyber Sign gets banned in the December list, which will be the next set, but no big deal. Shadow Ice Restrict, forbidden. Same thing with these. These all stay at 1 for us regardless. Magician of Faith goes back to 1. Spirit Reaper and Future Fusion both go straight to 1, which kind of bites, but oh well. We weren't going to be using Future Fusion much anyway. And then Nobleman of Crossout goes back to 1, which I think we have banned anyway, so it doesn't matter. Gravity Bind drops to 1, that's kind of a problem. And then Exile Force goes to 2. I don't think either of us have 2. Reckless Greed goes to 2. That's actually kind of nice for the Exodia deck. And basically that's about it. Lightning Vortex goes unlimited, but I don't think either of us have that. So overall, the list itself does make a few key changes, but for us it doesn't actually impact too much. So we're going to go ahead and go straight into the pack opening, and hopefully we can pull some of the key lower rarity cards we want. If we miss out on any holos, I'm kind of okay with that. Okay, so 24 packs of Cyberdark Impact. Really, I really hope that we can at least hit the few cards that actually make an impact, but we'll see. So flip the first pack. And right away, nothing spectacular. We have a couple of the barrier statues, that's kind of nice. A Mystical Wind Typhoon, I guess if we really want to try to get some extra spell trap removal, it's a decent option to try. But overall, nothing amazing here. Okay, so we see another barrier statue, so that's kind of nice. We see our first Vanity's Call, which is actually really good. Chain Healing's kind of decent. It gives you 500 life points, and if it's a Chain Link 2 or higher, when activated, you shuffle it back into your deck. And if it's Chain Link 4 or higher, you actually add it back to your hand. It's kind of a decent card overall, but again, unless you're running the Chain Burn strategy, it's not all that useful. And then we have Iris the Earth Mother. I don't even remember what this does. Is it any good? 1 tribute, 2400. After a chain with 3 or more linked resolves, draw a card. Okay, that's actually not the worst thing in the world, I guess, but once again, the fact that it's a 1 tribute and it requires a chain length 3 or higher to kick off is kind of meh. But, oh well. Ooh, okay. So, I know I said I'd be okay skipping the hollows, but this is actually one hollow I'm okay with. An ultimate rare of a rare, Black Horn of Heaven. That's pretty sweet. And we also see a Snipe Hunter, which is also pretty good. That's... If we could see 2 more of these, I will be very happy. Because Snipe Hunter is probably one of the best cards in here. Another ultimate rare, a Lightning Punisher. Not the best of card, I think. Because I believe this is another one that requires a chain link 3 or higher. Yeah, you could destroy a card your opponent controls, which, again, decent, but needing 2 tributes to pull off, and on top of that, needing 3 or higher chain, that's kind of meh. Another barrier statue, though, which is kind of nice, and we have a Vanity's Fiend, so that's kind of something to have in the back pocket if we need it. Okay, so there's another chain healing, which is kind of nice. Another couple barrier statues. And we actually have our first instant fusion, which is good. So even if we don't pull any others, we at least have the one to work with for the rest of eternity, which is pretty good. That being said, this is our first third of the box, and honestly, I'm not really seeing a whole lot of amazing value. Like, even ignoring the lack of hollows, it's still a crappy set so far. Second Snipe Hunter, though, that's kind of nice. Another chain healing, so we have our playset there. And Blasting Fuse is actually kind of an interesting card. You set it, and then if all zones in the column this card is set in are occupied, then you can destroy all cards in it. The downside to this is the fact that it means you have to blow up one of your monsters as well as your opponent's. So unless you have something that really makes use of that detail, then it's kind of crap, but I mean, if you have a way to make a token or something you're willing to sacrifice or something like that, then it's okay. Or even if you have like a Sandgun or Witch on the field to work with. But overall, I guess decent pack. Well, there's another Vanity's Call and a Vanity's Fiend, so that's kind of nice. Also, we have a Justy Break, which I guess isn't that bad. It basically is a normal summon, a normal monster version of Mirror Force. If your opponent attacks a normal monster you control, you destroy all monsters on the field that are face up. Or actually, no, you destroy all monsters on the field, period, except for normal monsters that are in face-up attack mode. So, it's actually pretty strong. The only downside is you have to rely on normal monsters to really pull that off. And unless you have a really good deck that focuses on them, they're not very good. And next set, okay, there's our second instant fusion and our third Snipe Hunter, which is good. We have a Flash of the Forbidden Spell, which, I don't know, I might keep that in the side deck just in case Rai actually tries to load up his field. I don't know. And we actually have our first Chain Strike, which is kind of nice. First, half the box through and we see the first one. I'm a little concerned about that, but hopefully we can see the other 2 soon. Okay, so there's our second Chain Strike, which is nice. We have a Chain Detonation, which basically is chain healing, but it deals 500 damage instead. Another Justy Break, which is kind of nice. And then we have our first super rare, our first holo that isn't the ultimate rare, Storm Shooter. And to be entirely honest, this card is just god-awful. 2 tributes for only 2300 attack. Right off the bat, you probably know what the problem is there. And then its effect is once per turn you could choose to either move this card to an adjacent horizontal zone that's not occupied, or you could bounce a spell or trap or monster card in the same column. So yeah, all in all, for a 2 tribute monster, this card is just god-awful overall. So, once again, it's a sad moment when you realize that I'm more interested in the 2 commons than I am the super rare. But, what can you do? Well, that pretty much rounds out our playsets of barrier statues, except for the one of the Drought. I'm pretty sure we have our playset Adjusty Break already. And then we have a Ultimate Rare Degenerate Circuit alongside a normal Degenerate Circuit, which it's cool that that's happened, but this card is just god-awful too. I'm starting to, honestly, now that I'm pulling these cards, I'm starting to understand more and more why people consider Cyberdark Impact the worst set in the entire era, if not the entire game. Because this is getting kind of depressing. Well, there's something different. There's our first Abaki, which is kind of whatever on its own, and a Vanity's Ruler, which, I mean, it's slightly better than Vanity's Fiend, because it's a one-way lockout of special summons, but the fact that it's a 2-tribute monster and it cannot be special summoned, yeah, that kind of makes the card itself still kind of shit, so honestly, at this point, I just want to see one more Chain Strike and maybe one more Instant Fusion, and that's about it. Okay, so there's our third Instant Fusion, so that's a nice thing, I guess. And we actually pulled the Allure Queen level 7, which, admittedly, I'm not too thrilled about, just because it's still a really bad effect. I mean, it's basically a relinquished effect, which isn't the worst. The problem is, you still need to... The problem with it is that, even though it can be summoned on its own, you still need 2 tributes for it in that regard, and unless you're getting it through the effect of Allure Queen level 5, it's basically just a 1500 vanilla. So, it's really not all that impressive. And the fact that it doesn't even gain attack power either makes it even more distressing, because even if you get it off, the payoff is literally just a 1500 attacker that can survive one fight. Not really something worth paying attention to. And just like that, we pretty much hit everything we want now. That's our third Chain Strike, our third Vanity's Call, and yeah, to be entirely honest, that's pretty much it. Like, I don't see anything else on the list that I want to pay attention to. So, I'll finish running out the packs, but realistically speaking, unless we see any more Blackhorn of Heaven, I don't really think there's anything spectacular left for me to pay attention to, so I'll just give an update if we see anything out of these last few packs, but this might be about it. Okay, well, asking you shall receive, I guess. There's our second Blackhorn of Heaven, which is kind of nice. And we actually pulled the Cyber Ogre too, which kind of surprises me. I mean, we have the 3 Cyber Ogre, we have the Byro Sacrifice that works with it, we have access to Polymerization. Do I really want to make any effort with this? I don't know. But, I don't know. We got 4 packs left. If we can hit one more Blackhorn of Heaven, then this will basically be the best box it could be. Alright, second to last pack, and we actually hit our final Blackhorn of Heaven, which is nice. So yeah, effectively, we've pulled everything we possibly could even want out of this set. And, I mean, granted, I guess you could argue that if we could have pulled the Cyberdark stuff, it would be something else, but realistically, we were never going to touch that stuff anyway. So let's hit our last pack, see what we hit. Really, I don't care one way or another at this point. Oh, and yeah, that's pretty much nothing to pay attention to. We have literal playsets of everything here, so yeah, it looks like we're good to go now. I guess we'll just scroll through for a second, and then I'll hop into deck edit and see what we can come up with. Probably not going to be too much out of this, admittedly, but we'll see what we can do. So, we'll catch you guys later. Okay, so here's the deck list for tonight's duel. I'm sure there's a couple things you've noticed, and don't worry, we'll get to those in just a second. So, scrolling, let's go through the card by card real quick, because as you can see, we're back in Heroes. First off, we have one Cyber Dragon, specifically for the sake of having a monster easy to summon, and if worse comes to worse, we could sack him off for Mobius. 3 Elemental Hero Wildheart. This is because he's not only unaffected by trap cards, which is really good, but he's also a key component for a few of our fusions. 1 Exile Force to deal with any potential threats. 2 King of the Swamp to act as material for our fusions, as well as pitch for polymerization if we need to. 1 Magician of Faith, recently dropped back down to 1. That's unfortunate, but plenty of spells to work with. 1 Mobius for back row removal, 1 Sandgan and 1 Witch to help search out most of our monsters, 3 Elemental Hero Clayman, now that we actually have Thunder Giant to work with, and 3 Elemental Hero Sparkman. So we have plenty of options for this. For the spells, 1 Book of Moon, we're keeping the Clock Tower Prison, because if we could keep it online, then it protects us after a while, and if not, well, it again forces Rai to have an option. And with Harpy Feather Duster no longer in the field, that's going to make it harder for him to get rid of this. 3 copies of E-Emergency Call, basically our Rhoda. 2 copies of Fusion Sage to help pull up our polymerizations. 1 copy of Future Fusion, who is now limited. 1 copy of Graceful Charity. 2 Heated Heart to give our monsters a little extra power and piercing. 1 Heavy Storm. 2 Miracle Fusion to help get anything we want, especially if we go with Future Fusion first. 3 Polymerization, 1 Pot of Greed, 1 Sword of Unveiling Light for our traps, 1 Magic Cylinder, 1 Ring of Destruction, and 2 Sakuretsu Armor. For our extra deck, we have 2 Aqua Neos, 1 Flare Neos, we're never going to use these. 1 Elemental Hero Mariner, just in case we actually have a chance to use this and attack directly. 2 copies of Elemental Hero Necroid Shaman. Rai using this last time on us showed me how good this actually can be, and quite frankly, that's something I hadn't thought about before, so that's kind of nice to pay attention to. 2 copies of Rampart Blaster, 1 copy of Shining Phoenix Enforcer, 1 copy of Steam Healer, 1 copy of Tempest. I don't even think we can summon this thing, but yeah, we can't even summon it, but oh well. 1 copy of Thunder Giant, 1 copy of Wild Wingman, 1 copy of Wild Edge, and 1 copy of Thousand Ice Restrict. Now for our side deck, and this is going to be interesting. 1 Cypher Soldier, because if he's running Warriors, aka Heroes, this will help us out with that. 2 Rottweiler, this will let us get back Polymerization and a hero if it's destroyed in battle. 3 Chain Strike. Now, the reason I'm playing these is specifically because if Rai decides to run the Chain Burn route, this actually can act as a pseudo counter card. Because the effect of it requires that it cannot activate if multiple cards or effects with the same name are in that chain. Meaning, if Rai wants to set up a big chain, that's fine. As soon as he flips something to Chain Link 2, we could flip this to Chain Link 3. This not only will deal 1200 damage to Rai, which is already pretty good damage on its own, but on top of that, that means he can't use his own Chain Strike on us. And that means that he also has to decide whether or not he wants to continue the chain or counteract it. So either way, this will help shut those chains down in his tracks if he tries to go that route. 1 Dark Hole, 1 Giant Trunade, 3 Negate Attack in case he's a little more offensive, and then 2 Reckless Greed and 2 Vanity's Call, which again basically follow the same pattern. Reckless Greed is there because this is going to be a common card in most Chain Burn decks, and I expect Rai to run this. So once again, if he flips this over, we could flip this in return, draw 2 cards as well, and he can't use this Chain Strike on us. And likewise, Vanity's Call, if we really need to, we could play this, pay half our life points, and if he ran a whole bunch of cards to draw and deal damage all at once, we could flip this, pay half our life, shut everything down, and then he basically ends up with no hand to speak of, and we could take that as our advantage. So, guys, we're going to try to take this one, and honestly, I'm very curious to see what Rai decides to go for. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to duel.
And recording has started. So this is an important episode for several reasons. One, we have the introduction of the champion packs, which are some of the most stacked tournament packs that we have had so far, and they're going to be stacked for a while. Second, this is the first game of the post-ban format, which removed a lot of board wipes. And then the third, that we haven't discussed until now, are the Collector's Tins. The 2006 Collector's Tins came out, and they have some pretty strong cards in them.
Oh yeah, so that's definitely going to be important, which is kind of funny that we have such powerful stuff as prizes for what is arguably one of the worst sets in the game. I I still personally think Power of the Duelist is worse than Cyberdark Impact, but it's definitely a pretty close fight on that one.
Cyberdark Impact had a lot of cards that impacted the format later on, just not now.
Alright, that's a good start.
That is a good start for you, not good for me. Alright, well, good luck, Duelist.
Good luck. Alright, so draw. Standby main. Well, I guess I might as well run this out now. I'm just going to activate Clock Tower Prison.
There's your Clock Tower Prison.
And I'm going to summon out my Elemental Hero Sparkman.
Here we go again.
And then I will set 2 and pass.
Draw for turn, stand by main. Set 3 and pass. Also during standby, your Clock Tower Prison gets a counter.
Oh, right.
I don't know why that triggers on opponent's standby, but whatever. Go!
Alright, draw. Standby main. You know what? Bottomless is banned. I can do that. I can take the risk. I'm going to sack Sparkman for Mobius.
I'm going to chain Ring of Destruction to the Mobius.
Alright. At least it clears your back row, though.
And then you get Hero Signal.
Alright. I guess I'll pass.
Draw for turn. Stand by main. Let's go ahead and flip up a Clayman.
Alright.
I'll make Burstinatrix as well.
Okay.
Then I am going to activate our Righteous Justice and eat your Clock Tower Prison and your middle set.
Alright, in response, I'm going to chain the middle set, which is Ring of Destruction, and we'll hit the Burstinatrix.
Sure. Then I'll proceed to the battle phase, and I'll poke for 8.
Alright, and I'll take it.
After combat, I'll set 1. Go!
Alright, draw, standby main, perfect timing. Let's run out ourselves a Wild Heart.
You have a Wild Heart.
And take out the Clayman.
7 in.
Hey, look at that. For the first time, our life points are actually different. Main 2, I guess I'll set 1, and I'll pass.
Draw for turn. Stand by main. I will activate Miracle Fusion.
Ooh, alright.
Miracle Fusion is going to make me a Rampart Blaster. Which, by the way, did you know this card has an errata?
Yep.
Yeah, it's really silly. I don't know why this card has an errata, but it does.
Well, the reason was because this was actually what it was intended to be, but they screwed up when they printed it. Because, like, the video games actually have the effect correct. It's supposed to only attack. It's supposed to only be able to attack while you have nothing. And if you do, it won't let you attack directly. It'll only let you attack the monsters.
I'm going to go ahead and turn.
Alright. Standby main. I'm not sure I can do anything. I guess I'll just set 1 and pass.
Draw for turn. Stand by main. I am going to run out a Wild Heart.
Okay.
I will proceed to the battle phase. I'll crash the Wild Hearts,
Okay.
and then I'll attack for 1,000.
And I will Sakuretsu.
I will cry. Go.
Alright, draw. Standby, main. That does not actually help me a lot, but let's see what we could come up with here. I'm gonna run out a Sparkman.
You got it.
That's not what I wanted to do. Alright.
I'm sure what you want to do is just smack me.
Yep. Time for the stun
16
gun.
in. 16 in.
And I'll pass.
Draw for turn, standby, main. Set one and pass.
Alright. Standby main. I will run out of Sangan.
You got it.
Battle. Let's see what you got.
You get a witch. I'm gonna take the 1,000 off of Sangan so you can think about your turn, but I'm gonna grab. What is my best chance to get out of this? I think my best out is to grab. I think I need to grab King of the Swamp here.
Alright.
And then the 1,000 happened?
Yep.
Alright.
I'll pass.
Alright, deck. I think any hero will do. Draw. Standby, main. I'm going to go ahead and pitch this King of the Swamp to grab Polly.
Okay.
Then I'm going to set a monster and set a back row and pass.
Okay. Draw. Standby main. Well, look at that. I have a tutor too.
Sure.
Let's see. Alright. Let's see. I'm pretty sure I have a good idea of what's going to be said, but I still need to do this anyway. Let's see what you got.
I have Mirror Force.
Oh, okay. Alright. So,
The thing that irks me is you haven't normaled yet. Which is scary.
I think I will add King of the Swamp to my hand.
Yep.
Main phase
It's
2.
in that deck.
I will set a card and pass.
Draw for turn, standby, main. What is the best way to go about this? I think I gotta go for it. Polly?
Alright.
I'm gonna make Flame Wingman.
Okay.
Proceed to battle phase.
Alright.
21 into your set.
Sure. So, you'll get my King of the Swamp, so I'll take
You'll
5.
take 250 or 500. Yeah, you're right. I will pass.
Alright. Draw. Standby main. Alright. Let's go ahead and activate ourselves a Miracle Fusion.
Sure. Miracle Fusion's fine.
Alright, so I will banish my Sparkman and my King of the Swamp. And let's go for... Let's go for Shining Phoenix Enforcer.
Shining Phoenix Enforcer, huh?
And his attack is bumped by another 600, so he's actually at 31.
31. You're not going to like this too much. I'm going to defuse your Shining Phoenix Enforcer.
Ooh.
Please go back to the extra deck.
Well, he's not going back to the extra deck, but he'll flip.
Seems okay.
Main phase 2, I will set one monster, and I will pass.
Draw for turn. Stand by main.
I forgot defusion's a thing. That's gonna be a problem.
Does this do it? Can't believe I'm actually doing this. I'm gonna emergency call.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
I'm gonna get Sparkman.
And you're gonna contact Fuse.
Yeah, I'm gonna normal Sparkman and contact out.
Okay.
I never thought I would be contacting out for this, of all things. Shining Flare Wingman.
Okay. So that's
Go to
1,
battle.
2, 3. Whew, that's a lot of power.
I'm just gonna hit the...
Yeah.
Not be destroyed by battle.
Hopefully,
Yes, Cuperino.
And yeah, it can't be destroyed in battle either, so... Oh yeah. Right now, the heroes are definitely the best things we've got available to us, so...
They're probably going to be played for the rest of GX, but you never know with how crazy some of the sets get later.
Oh, yeah.
Stand by main. I am going to set a pair and pass.
Alright. Draw. Stand by main. Well, I guess we can start out with this card.
Seems okay.
Ooh. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so let's start by activating Future Fusion.
Interesting.
Let's see, who do I want to show off? I think I will reveal my newly received Elemental Hero Thunder.
So you do have a Thunder Giant. You must have got one out of the Jaden packs.
Yep.
Yeah, that card's pretty good.
Alright. Next, I'm going to... God, that's a bit of a push. That's a bit of a push, but is it worth it? Yeah, what the hell. Okay, so I'm going to special summon my Sidra.
You have a Sidra.
And I'm going to stack him for my Mobius.
Why?
Thank God. Alright. Next I'm going to activate H Heated Heart, targeting my Mobius.
That's so good. That's so good.
So, 29 in.
I'll take 13. It's a Wild Heart.
Ooh, okay.
Was kind of hoping you would run out something like Sparkman.
I'll e-call here in the deck a little bit.
Wow, your hand was cracked. Your hand was so cracked.
I think I'll add a Wild Heart to hand just in case.
I mean, that's not awful. Draw for turn. Stand by main. I'm gonna pitch this king.
Okay.
Go get Polly. Activate Miracle Fusion.
Ooh. Okay. Wild Heart and... Oh, is that gonna be Necroid Shaman, or is that gonna be...
Elemental Hero Wild Edge.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I mean, it outs the Mobius.
Yeah, true.
Get it out of there.
Alright.
Then I'm gonna just eat the Future Fusion.
Damn, okay.
Set one. Go.
Alright, draw. Stand by main. Ooh. I'm going to set one and pass.
Draw for turn. Stand by main. Let's go ahead and just go to the battle phase. I'm gonna just hit into the set.
Alright, that's my Witch of the Black Forest.
I mean, it gets you an answer. Possibly.
Let's see. I think I'm gonna add my Exile Force.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Go. This
Alright.
Wild Edge is not long for this world.
No, it is not. I'm going to run out my Exile Force.
Yep.
And your turn.
Draw for turn, stand by main. Set one. I really don't like doing this, but I do need to get in for chip damage at least. I'm gonna normal summon this Rottweiler.
Alright.
Battle phase. This is not why it's in the deck, but I need some kind of pressure.
Fair.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Alright.
I really hope that 800 damage winds up making a difference.
That would actually be really funny if it did. Okay, so what do I want to do? I think I'm going to set one and pass.
Draw for turn, stand by main. Yuck. I'm gonna turn Rottweiler sideways and pass.
Alright. Stand by main. That could be useful. The question is, will it be?
Oh, what do you have in here?
Let's see. Could you get well, okay, so you if I pop the Rottweiler now, you'll get Wild Edge back to the extra deck, but you won't get anything else. Honestly, that's kind of for the best then. Alright, I'll run out Wild Heart and take out the doggy.
Sure, I get nothing back, actually.
Oh, really? Oh, because it has to have both.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Avarice.
Forgot about that. Okay.
Yeah, it's like Avarice, which is really annoying. Draw for turn, standby, main. Sat one. Go.
Alright, draw.
Yeah, all these back row that work on Wildheart.
Well, they won't be working on much anyway.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, granted, I just cracked that off the top, so... Saku, Ring, and my body. Okay.
Ugh, I'm in so much trouble.
Should I try to push here? You know what? What the hell? Let's try it. I'm gonna Foundation of Faith, and I'm gonna retrieve my Pot of Greed.
As if I wasn't already far behind enough. Yup.
There's one card that I'm looking at, if I could pull it. Nope. Okay, so I can do a lot here. I just can't finish this. Ah, damn. Okay. Well, I guess I can at least go for that too. I'm gonna E-call.
Yep, that's fine. That's fine. Because this is still coming in for heavy damage.
Is this actually enough?
Oh, you must...
Wait. 3. Okay. I think this might actually be about enough. I'm gonna activate Polymerization.
Oh, is this a Thunder Giant?
Yeah, it's Thunder Giant.
Yep. Oh, you have Miracle Fusion too, don't you?
I don't have Miracle Fusion. I do have another Wild Heart, though.
So that's 57? Okay. I go to 1,000. I think...
I'll set one. I'll pass.
I think I have to hit a 3-outer here. Hoop!
And I'm gonna ring for game.
Never mind, that's a 0-outer. Yep.
That last hand was basically like holy shit, because that's the thing. I was sitting here, I was like, okay, I have 3k on Wild Hearts. I was like, if I could pull a King of the Swamp, that might get me into Shining Phoenix Enforcer, and that might be enough to push it over. But then I remembered that with E-Call and Ring, that's actually enough to finish it, so...
Wow, so bricky, oh my god.
See, that's kind of... Alright, so that was a nice win in pretty convincing fashion, no less. So, here we are at the winner's wheel. We get to spin this twice, and because Champion Pack 1 is only available for this one specific set, I'm going to spin twice on the sealed wheel and try to see if we can hit these packs. Because if we can, that's going to be huge. So let's give this a couple spins, and let's see. Normally I don't like to say this, but we're hoping for the green wedge. Oh, yes. Perfect. Perfect. Because this is Champion Pack Game 1. And they have a few cards here notable to pay attention to. If we hit King Tiger Wanghu, that's whatever, because that gets replaced. We have to replace that since it's banned. They have, like, for the most part, I think we have everything here, so it's not that big a deal for the commons. But the rares are where we really want to pay attention. Because Pot of Avarice, Solemn Judgment. Both of these are really big cards that we want to see. Hopefully we could pull those. So for our first round, we get 3 packs of Champion Pack 1. Let's see what we can come up with. And right off the bat, nothing spectacular. We have a Stealth Bird, but that's whatever. My Body is a Shield. I think we've already got a playset of this, but oh well. And Emissary of the Afterlife is just meh. Second pack, Pot of Avarice. Fuck yes. That is going to be a huge benefit for us for Exodia. That's really going to be a nice benefit for us. Mudora is kind of neat, but whatever. And we have Mysterious Guard, I'm pretty sure. So, third pack. Let's see what we hit. Okay, King Tiger Wanghu. So, unfortunately, we have to replace this. Threatening Roar and My Body don't matter. So, we flip this. Okay, we got another Stealth Bird. Not that big a deal. Not that big a deal. Okay, now, the fact that we managed to hit... Hold on. There we go. Had a certain person hopping in. Couldn't let him hear anything here. So, despite the fact that we hit Pot of Avarice, which is hilarious and awesome, I'm going to spin again for our second spin, because we have a chance at Solemn Judgment. Solemn Judgment is not going to be available for us for a long time again, so we're going to give this a shot and see what we can hit. Basically, honestly, for the wheel, anything that's not the White Wedge, we will be happy with. Okay, so we have 3 packs of a reprint set. Let's see what we've got available to us. Okay, so after scrolling through the card lists for Dark Beginning 2, Dark Revelation 1, and Dark Revelation 2, all of which are currently available to us as options, I think I'm going to stick with Dark Beginning 2. The reason for this is because while there are quite a few rares and commons out of here that we don't really need anymore, the fact is that the super rares and higher actually have a lot of value to us. We have cards like Mirror Force, we have cards like Royal Decree, Solemn Judgments here. These are all fairly useful options if we could get them. And the ultra rares themselves aren't exactly anything spectacular, but at the same time, overall, this gives us more options between the super rares and the rares. We actually have better cards available to us than if we got any of the other 2 sets. So we're going to go ahead and stick with that. We're going to get 3 packs of Dark Beginning 2. And we're really going to hope for the best here. So first pack, we flip. And oh shit. Okay, so first off, Defusion. That's nice to have as a backup option to deal with Ryza monsters. And yeah, let's just get to it. Donzalug. That's a good pickup. It is getting a little bit further along to where this isn't going to be as strong anymore, but it's still a good pickup nonetheless. Alright, so those have all been recorded. Second pack. Come on, baby, let's give us something good. Okay, so really nothing spectacular out of this set. Out of this pack. Third Fusion Sage, though, that's actually kind of sweet. Horn of Heaven's kind of nice, but we have other options at the moment. Bazoo, I guess, can be decent. Now, we do have a King Tiger Wanghu here. Ooh, Needleworm, I didn't even notice that. But, we have a King Tiger Wanghu here. So, in order for this to count, what we're going to do is, the next pack we open, we're only going to consider the middle card here. And then, after that, we'll open a new pack for our third pack. Okay, so again, only the center card matters. Let's flip and see. Maiden of the Aqua. Okay. That's nothing we really care about. But, oh well. Out of curiosity, let's flip the rest of these and see what this pack had. And thankfully for us, it looks like there really wasn't anything else in here to pay attention to, which is good. So now we're going into our third pack, and let's hope. Let's hope. And ooh, there's actually a creature swap. That's actually kind of nice. And it looks like that's pretty much about it. I mean, there's a third Reckless Greed, so I guess that's kind of nice for later down the road. Creature swap's kind of nice. And it looks like that's pretty much it, to be honest. So, unfortunately, it could be better, but for what we've got, that's not too bad. So, with that being said, this was Cyberdark Impact, everybody. Thank you for watching. We will catch you next week when we tackle Strike of Neos. Have a great night.